हमसे दूर, बहुत दूर। वो हमसे दूर हो गए, रोए न दिल तो क्या करे। कोशिश तो की थी समझाने की हजारों बार, पर बेकरार ही रहा दिल तो क्या करे। वो पास तो है वैसे मेरे, पर यूं है कितने ही दूर। ढूंढा शिद्दत से जहां में जिसे, रहता तो है दिल में मेरे, पर ना मिली आंखें जो दिल को दिखा सके, और ना मिली जुबान जो दिल को बयां कर सके। वो हमसे दूर हो गए, रोए ना दिल तो क्या करे। This Parchi was written approximately in 1965, the year Nanu's first daughter was born. The happiness of the childbirth had depleted as the extended family had moved out and Nanu was dealing with the family business on his own.
Nanu's Saturday routine was to visit all the steel dealers, of whom the most sought after visit was to Roshan Bhai Parekh. More than a dealer, Roshan Bhai was like an older brother, cheerful, helpful, and full of worldly wisdom. Avid tea drinkers, both friends would spend hours gossiping, discussing, and generally having a great time over endless cups of tea. Tea would become ever so special when Suhasi Ben, Roshan Bhai's wife, would brew it in her own very special way. One Saturday, however, Roshan Bhai appeared to be quite distracted and he was not his real self. There was no tea for Nanu in the thermos. There was rather a kind of dullness in the shop. The usual cheer had just vanished.
શું થયું રોશનભાઈ? બધું ઠીક છે ને? But Roshanbhai quietly handed over to Nanu the weekly commission without replying. After a little prodding, Roshanbhai replied in an emotionless voice. શું કહું તને? સુહાસી સુરત જતી રહી છે.
Roshan Bhai was a 60-year-old successful businessman in Surat. However, on his elder son's insistence, who wanted to make it big in Bombay, he decided to shift to Bombay. Rohan, the son, wanted to use all the experience of Roshan Bhai for his own business. Both Rohan and his wife Ramila wouldn't allow Roshan Bhai to go back to Surat. But then, after a couple of years, another controversy began in the family. Roshan Bhai's second son Subhash began to feel jealous and outright neglected because the father had chosen to help only the elder son in his business. Subhash had a homemade pickle business in Surat. However, somehow it had depleted, and now Subhash was desperate to have his mother, that is Suhasi Ben, to come back to Surat so that she could come up with her magic spice mixture and the traditional ways of making the pickles. A fight broke out in the family, with the two sons fighting over the possession of their parents, but for absolutely selfish ends, wherein each wanted the parents to help them in their own businesses. When the fight became too ugly, it seemed that there was no other option but to ask Suhasi Ben to go back to Surat and help the younger son in his business. And that's why Suhasi Ben had to go back to Surat. Roshan Bhai was otherwise a quiet man, not very demonstrative. He loved his wife truly and deeply. She wasn't just a wife to him in the traditional way who would cook for him and keep his house. On the contrary, she was a friend, a companion, a soulmate to him. Roshan Bhai couldn't imagine life without Suhasi. Coming to Bombay itself in the 1950s was a challenge. But because of Suhasi Ben being alongside him all the time, Roshan Bhai could manage the new conditions with ease. But now things had become very bad, extremely bad. Roshan Bhai was very lost, very shattered.
Companionship, camaraderie, friendship, being soulmates. These were expressions completely unheard of in Indian marriages of the 1960s. Wives were simply supposed to cook, keep a neat and clean house, take care of the children and other family members, and buy all the provisions. That was the reason why Roshan Bhai's children could not understand why their parents needed each other so much. Roshan Bhai and Suhasi Ben were not just husband and wife to each other. Before that, they were friends to each other. They were almost like two halves joined together with a lot of love.
Nanu was pained to hear Roshan Bhai's plight. He tried to console Roshan Bhai in the best possible manner. But would it have helped in any way? The pain wouldn't have lessened at all. It was then that Nanu wrote this Parchi.
Nanu never spoke to me about the beautiful bond that Roshan Bhai shared with his wife. But his narration in itself taught me what love and relationships are all about. Only by singing songs, dancing around trees, bringing expensive gifts, or making loud declarations about it does not prove one's love for a friend or a companion. But sometimes love is expressed by simply being there with each other, for each other, in the everyday small things of life. Just by living a simple, normal, ordinary life with a loved one is also love, a cherished bond, isn't it? I grew up in the 21st century, a century taken over by social media, where love is not love unless shouted out from the rooftops. But thanks to Nanu's narration of Roshan Bhai's relationship with his wife, I understood the meaning of true love. Social media accounts today are full of love expressions that loudly proclaim undying togetherness in the most eloquent vocabulary possible. But does it ensure the magic of growing old together?